Hi everybody, welcome back to Keto Smoking. This week we've got a great and simple recipe for you in the line of keeping your life as simple and easy as possible. Keto's tough, so making things hard isn't always the best way to go. As always, give us a like and a subscribe and stay tuned for those next videos. Hi everybody, like I said, welcome back to Keto Smoking. This week we're going to keep things really simple. Weekend meal prep makes your life a lot easier through the week, especially when you've got work, school, everything else going on. The last thing you want to do during the week is get bogged down with long, complicated recipes. Keto's hard enough as it is. Keeping things simple helps your life. This week we're going to do a simply smoked chicken with Brussels sprouts. But with the Brussels sprouts, we're actually going to put a little bit of butter and some bacon just to give them a big flavor boost. We're also going to use some of our generic rub that we made up, and we're going to smoke these as well. Now, if you're not a fan of Brussels sprouts, give them a try in the oven, roasted, or on the smoker if you've got access to a smoker. If you don't have a smoker, a lot of these recipes will still work just as easily in the oven. You just need to pay attention to times and temperature. So what we'll go ahead and start with is the Brussels sprouts. Now, depending on how you get them, where you get them from, the time of year that you get them, they may be a little bit bigger, they may be a little bit smaller. So if they're a little bit bigger, you can cut them in half, slice them up however you want them. We like pretty good sizes here. So for the small ones, we really just want to cut that little woody stem out. We've already washed and rinsed these, and we're just going to cut these stems out and put them in our pan. Again, it's just being simple and easy. The bacon is going to render down while we cook the Brussels sprouts and actually help add a lot of flavor to it. Go. Get this in our little trash. Now, we'll go ahead and cut the bacon up, add that to the Brussels sprouts. To our trash bowl. And then here simply we're just going to do a quick dice on this. We're not trying to make it pretty. We just want the bacon to be in there for flavor and to add some of that rendered bacon fat to help cook the Brussels sprouts and add that smoky flavor to it. As always, we got a few comments last week. Feel free, drop a comment. If you got a question about any of these recipes, if you've got a question about keto, curious about it, feel free to drop those comments, questions down below. As always, make sure you give us a like and subscribe. There we go. Like I said, this is really just for flavor. So you can add more or less, it just depends on your taste. I'm putting this on here because I want that bacon fat to render all over these Brussels sprouts. Really give it a smoky flavor. You don't have to add this much, it's just my preference. Now I am using thin cut bacon because I do want to make sure it is fully cooked by the time the Brussels sprouts are done. If you like a thick cut bacon, You definitely don't want to add this much because you do want it to cook fully before you pull it off the smoker. There we go. Go ahead, get rid of the gloves, and get a butter knife here. I know we've got bacon fat, but I'm going to put a little extra butter just because. Again, as much or as little as you like. Keep in mind, on the keto diet, you're taking in a lot of fat. So you want to make sure that you're watching your bad fats. That is important. And also making sure you're getting plenty of the good fats. And I'll be showing you some of those tips and tricks later on. Easy way to do that. Sardines, salmon. You want to stick with like a wild caught sockeye salmon as opposed to the farm raised, but depending on who you talk to, you can get different advice. Tuna is another good one. If you want to stick away from the larger versions of tuna, because as they get bigger they tend to get a little more mercury, so you can stick with just the chunk like tuna is okay. Keep it packed in water. You don't always know the quality of the olive oil that they're using, so stay away from the ones in olive oil. If you like it with olive oil, you can always put your own olive oil in it later. Again, for the Brussels sprouts, we're just going to put a little bit of our seasoning with it. This is going to just go with all that bacon as it's cooking down and rendering. It's going to work its way down through all of those Brussels sprouts. Next, we're going to set this aside and we're going to move on to the chicken, the best part. All right, here we are with the whole chicken. Now, what I've done is called spatchcocking. It's basically you're going to take this chicken when it's whole and take you a good pair of kitchen shears and just snip right down the backbone on each side, cutting that backbone out and setting that aside later. Then what you're going to want to do, and this is optional, is take your knife, come down each side of this breastbone, and go ahead and remove that breastbone. That is going to allow you to lay this chicken really, really flat. Now, the fact that you got it really flat means you can cook really evenly. Now, some people, these tend to burn on the grill, so if you want to tuck those under or get rid of them altogether, you can do that. Now, what I'm going to do is remove one of my gloves. I'm going to set that here for right now. And I'm going to go ahead and use my all-purpose seasoning. This is the same one we used before. Again, feel free to use whatever rub you want to use. It's all about your preference. You can go from simple and easy to spicy, Cajun, whatever you feel like. We're just going to season this liberally. And again, I always like to put all my seasonings on, let them go into the fridge, especially with poultry. You want to get that good time to dry out the skin. That helps you get a much crispier skin once you go to the grill. Make sure you get your wings, all sides, real good with this. And then you're going to want to flip it over. Make sure you get the other side. Like I said, when you put this in the fridge, the salts and your rub are going to help pull moisture out of the chicken. Then, as it continues to sit there, the moisture is going to be reabsorbed by the meat, and it's going to pull in all that flavor that you got in your rub. There we go. Make sure we got all the little exposed bits of skin. That's going to be huge flavor when it comes out. And we're going to go from our prep tray right onto our baking sheet. If you want to season this on the baking sheet, you feel free to do that. I had this one on the butcher board for actually finishing up removing those bones and getting everything ready. And then what we're going to do is take this, like I said, put it in your fridge. Try to keep it on the lowest shelf possible. I've got it in a pan here. Hopefully nothing gets out of the pan. If you're worried about it, you can put it under something underneath it to catch anything that might come out. The idea is just to prevent any cross-contamination. And then put this in your fridge. Like I said, overnight is best, but you at least want to give it a good hour or so to let that rub do its job. Pull the moisture, excess moisture out, and then really start getting in and penetrating the skin of the meat. And then we'll be back and we'll be ready to go to the smoker after that. All right, so what I did was I pulled the chicken out of the fridge, kind of let it come up to room temperature just a little bit while the smoker was heating up. I went ahead and put it on the smoker. I've got my temperature probe inserted in the deepest part of the chicken breast so I can keep an eye on the temperature. Then I'm going to take my Brussels sprouts and go ahead and put those on the grill as well. Now it's just time to wait. All right, so I've already pulled the chicken and the Brussels sprouts from the smoker. We wound up cooking the chicken and the Brussels sprouts at 350 degrees for about 45 minutes. Pulled the Brussels sprouts and then turned the temperature up to about 425, maybe another 10 minutes at 425 just to get a little extra crisp on the skin. Other than that, it's pretty simple. You can also spray it down with a little butter, baste it with some butter, or whatever type of spritz you like to use on your smoker if you're worried about drying the skin out too much. So what we can do now is get a plate and start to eat.